A lot of people are really hard on Marc Webb and Andrew Garfield and really dislike the Amazing Spider-Man duology, like with a lot of passion. But to be honest with you guys, I actually kind of liked it. Looking past all the misunderstandings in the film,
What are you doing?
if we try to appreciate the potential,
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
maybe reconsider what Avi Arad wanted to go for.
It's just so much newness.
Okay, maybe I might just be blinded, but if you take a closer look at the acting, especially Andrew Garfield, the passion you get from these guys are just amazing. Except the villains, because they didn't have a lot to work with. Honestly, I'm not trying to blame anyone, especially not the writers, but just the overall involvement of the producers.
Really, Avi was in charge the entire time. Avi knows all, right?
You see?
Yeah.
Did you hear
Well,
that?
after every take, I'd be like, so Avi, what should I do? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm confused. Give me advice.
There are a few things I really like about this film, and you guys already know what's wrong with it, and I won't get into it because there's so many videos already bashing it, and I don't want to add to that. If we look at the film as a whole, it's okay. If we look at it differently, it's terrible. But if we just focus on the bad, we miss the good parts, and to me, I think the good outshines the bad. Though there are a lot of reasons to dislike this film, I still stand in the minority where we actually sort of appreciate and don't dislike the film and the approach Marc Webb was taking. Before getting into it, I just want to remind you guys that this is my opinion. I'm not stating facts, not trying to change your mind, but shedding a new light and perspective on this whole film, because honestly, it's heartbreaking to see people still hate on this film 5 years later. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a fun film. Well, it could get dark at certain points, but it was sort of balanced. I liked the jokes, and it didn't feel like one of those improvised scenes in comedies,
Time travel!
or like one of those you should be laughing now reactions from the characters.
What? I see this as an absolute win.
I genuinely like the first Amazing Spider-Man. Thinking about it now, maybe I'll make a video about that one as well. Anyway, I love the approach and the overall story of becoming Spider-Man in that film. And getting into the second one, it was a bigger scale. Marc Webb knew that we were already invested, so he made New York a little bit bigger and brighter and livelier, and more about the city and the people in it. The two lives that Peter Parker lives had double the weight in this film, and a lot of people say that Andrew Garfield can pull off Spider-Man but not Peter Parker because he was too attractive. Are you saying this isn't attractive? His Peter Parker was so emotional, especially with Aunt May. The moments that Peter and Harry share is honestly almost as good as James and Tobey when he was trying to figure out the father thing. I honestly liked Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, and it's heartbreaking to see him go out like that.
It gets compromised, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah,
I got
understand
heartbroken a little bit to a certain degree.
With the small aspects done, here's what I really liked. Just the fact that this film stuck to me for 2 years after its release is pretty cool. I remember wanting to become Spider-Man in cadet camp back in 2014, watching that clip with the Philip Phillips part, and turning my watch into a web shooter. I downloaded the movie itself on my phone when typically I don't do that. I even had my dial tone set to the Spider-Man dial tone. Again, everyone hates on this film, and yet here we are 5 years later, and I'm still talking about it. At least positively, anyway. Man, the costume. I still think this film has the best Spider-Man costume design ever. Although I appreciate the Homecoming Civil War costume, but I appreciate it for different reasons, like the overall bright color and the extra lines that is given to him to add a bit of texture to the costume. But the fact that it's CGI makes it feel not as authentic as Andrew's. I know Civil War wasn't too much CGI, but come on. From there on, it just turned into something else. It just boggles my mind that this costume isn't in the Spider-Man game. The visual effects of this film is amazing. The effects speak for themselves. Some scenes I thought maybe they had some sort of stand-in, but they didn't. They didn't have an actor at all, just pure visual effects. I'm pretty sure all the money went to the effects themselves. They had some really good shots regarding the cinematography. Everything about makes Spider-Man so fun was handled very well in terms of battle scenes, spider senses, and the web swinging. Speaking of the web swinging, this film has the best, hands down the best web swinging ever. If the best Spider-Man video game is taking some inspiration from your web swinging, you know you're doing something right. Just look at it, the inspiration itself. They had actual people swinging to base their web swinging on. Hans Zimmer did it again, man. He did it again. He created this feeling of being Spider-Man, chasing down criminals by swinging through the city. And playing the game while you play this music is honestly just such a great experience. Oh, whoops, that's not Hans. This is Hans Zimmer. Just look at that, swinging through New York with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 theme. And all you need is the costume. Come on, Insomniac. You gave us the Raimi suit and the other suit. Time for the Amazing Spider-Man suit. Nah, I'm just playing. You guys are the best, and you guys have done some really good work. I'm not demanding for the Amazing Spider-Man suit, but if you could, that would be amazing. I know I briefly discussed it earlier, but just the performances of everyone, again except the villains, with the exception of the Harry and Peter scenes, was honestly great. The natural tone and the approach of the actors chose were mostly spot on. And honestly, scenes like these
Hey. Hi.
feel almost like these.
With Lee, do you?
Sorry to cook and run.
Did you just leave your clothes on the kitchen floor?
And the off-screen chemistry just says it all.
Whether it be on screen or off, it's an open invitation to the roughs.
Yikes.
The rough stuff. The rough house.
All right. Glad you
Just
shared.
the overall acting was superb, and I'm just torn that we'll never see any more of it. Anyway, the story was decent, but the alter ego and the double life that Peter lives was where it shined. The inner conflicts he faced with Gwen was great, but the external conflicts is where the film suffered. I believe it's just every time that Electro was on screen, that's where it got messy, but then he got involved with everyone, so it messed with everyone. The film had a promising opening, but just suffered through the middle and towards the end. It's not as compelling as the original Spider-Man, of course, but it ventured into a different path that I really liked. This isn't a masterpiece. Does it have a compelling story? Kinda. Is it memorable? Sort of. Is it a good film? I hate to admit it, but a little. At the end of the day, overall, I really like the film. I'm not saying it's something I'd watch at least once every 3 months, but more like every 2 years. Is it a good Spider-Man story? Well, about that, I'd say it's an okay Spider-Man story.